to fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. This article is entitled Watch Germany. It's a sub-part of a whole item under the heading Trade Wars Have Begun, and it's by Brad McDonald. I'm going to read a short clip from it, but I will put a link on my website so that you can follow it in more detail. There's an awful lot more to it than I'm reading to you, but you'll get the gist of it. When it comes to trade, no nation has more at stake than Germany. Berlin quietly sits at the heart of global trade. It has the fourth largest economy in the world, is the third biggest exporter, and is the engine that drives Europe economically. As Spiegel Online put it, no other large economy is more reliant on free exchange of goods and services, on border-free trade and barrier-free exports than the German economy. And that was a quote from Spiegel in January the 28th. Mr. Trump's view, according to Spiegel, are a dangerous cocktail for German industry. This is not a hyperbole. America is the single largest importer of German goods. In 2015, it accounted for almost 10% of German exports, and the UK accounted for 7.5%. Considering that 46.8% of Germany's GDP comes from exports, he explained Geopolitical Futures, the importance of the US to Germany's export machine should not be underestimated. Even a marginal drop in the US demand for German goods, and the drop in the event of a 35% tariff, would surely be more than marginal, would have a massive impact on the German economy. It is becoming apparent that Trump's presidency represents a break in the transatlantic relationship, the kind of which hasn't been seen since World War II, explained Spiegel. Some looking at this development see Germany and Europe as innocent victims of Donald Trump and Brexit. Germany's media are doing a marvellous job at selling this narrative, but Germany isn't poor and isn't a helpless victim. On the contrary, all the uncertainty and tension is giving Berlin an opportunity to develop new trade relationships, to act more aggressively, especially towards the US, and assume a greater leadership in global trade and commerce. The international community, in general, dislikes President Trump and his vision for America. One consequence is that many nations, European states especially, but others worldwide, are beginning to look to Germany as the new America. The world is rallying behind Berlin as it stands up to Mr. Trump, and we can expect this trend to continue. It is still early, but Germany is already gearing up for a fight. In January, when asked about Mr. Trump's threat to put 35% tax on some German imports, Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble told German public broadcaster ZDF, "I also want to point out that currently American companies don't have to tax their gains which they make outside of the US. That means hundreds of billions of untaxed gains of great American companies rest in a tax oasis." Well, that's all fine and dandy, but here's something that the Germans need to think about. They certainly are not paying their way in the world as far as their national defence is concerned. Europe as a whole is not paying its way in terms of national defence. It hasn't been doing for a very, very long time. Britain is. I think it's just about hanging on there, but only by its fingertips. And the United States, bluntly, is propping up Europe and giving them a fake economy, just the same as it's doing in Canada. The Canadian government could not survive, with its national defence being what it is, if it wasn't for the fact that it was linked militarily to the United States for its very survival. You can find more at aradio.com. aradio.wordpress.com. I am very pleased to announce that thanks to you for following us on Spreaker.com, that A Radio can now be found on iTunes under A Radio. Thank you, everyone. And I'm on Twitter at A Radio Canada. I'm also on Facebook at A Radio Canada. I am on Gab at A Radio. You can email me at aradiocanada@gmail.com. Please click the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning minutes at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can also find all my podcasts and morning minutes at aradio.wordpress.com. And click on the Morning Minutes tab.